been raining terror, stoking our fears from deep in your lair. We're here to tell you that your time has come. This is our kingdom today. Dragon can fall, we'll slay you with our mighty sword. Dragon can fall, your heart will soon be ours. Dragon can fall, you are the beast we're training for. We are the party who dare threaten you. We have no fear of your ancient power. Fire will not make us cower. We're here to tell you that the spells are cast. You will not last the night.
You are the fools who will now feel my wrath.
Dragon can fall, we'll slay you with our mighty sword. Dragon can fall, your heart will soon be you are the beast we're training for. We are the party who now will fight back. Quick, grab the magic bow. All distracted. You'll never defeat me, dragon.
Prepare to meet your doom.
Dragon can fall, we slayed him with our mighty swords. Dragon can fall, his heart will now be ours.
Welcome everyone to Office Hours. It's me, Devin. Excited to have all of you here. Wow, team, so exciting. We are launching. We are launching Game Status this week. This is so exciting. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about what Game Status is going to mean, and then I'm going to go ahead and also talk about any Q&A. And this is the first time we're doing this on YouTube, but because a lot of people said that they were having trouble with Twitch. Twitch's mobile app is notoriously difficult. So that's why we're moving this to YouTube. So first things first, I hope I'm all coming in. Thank you for that. Thank you for the love on the hat. Let's see if I can do a quick screen cap here. We want to find Chrome. There we go. Yep, that's it. Okay. All right. So the goal is to launch Game Status tomorrow or Thursday or potentially Friday. But we want to launch it this week. And we're just running through, the team has been doing testing all since last week, going through, trying to find some edge cases, etc., fix those bugs so we can launch it on either Wednesday or Thursday, maybe Friday. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share what Game Status is going to look like. Now, this is a version of our live site with the feature Game Status on. You're going to see that all the games are active or ongoing because we haven't launched the recruitment stage of Game Status yet. And that's a big thing about what Game Status will do. So I guess maybe I should even walk back and just talk again about what Game Status allows us to do. Game Status allows games to exist in a recruitment stage. So let's say you want 3 people minimum to be in your campaign before you start it. Right now, you have to schedule all those sessions out. People join it, and if it's not going to run because you don't have enough people, you have to go and cancel that session. Now, we tried to really educate GMs that, like, hey, cancel a session if you don't plan to run it. But that is still one of the number one reasons why people have to issue refunds, is they didn't think the player was going to be charged. So we realized, like, no matter how hard we try to teach this is the path forward, people assumed the other way. So I was like, okay, well, we need to build a product that also kind of goes through those assumptions. The other thing is, players assume that game is absolutely going to happen on that scheduled date. And they were getting bummed out that it wasn't. And so their expectations weren't being met. So we thought to ourselves, okay, we need to make it clear for players that, like, hey, if you join this game, it's going to start once X amount of people have joined. And it could start this date, or it could start, a date in the future. But making that really, really clear. So let me go ahead and show you what that kind of looks like. Here is the production with the flag turned on. These are the new game cards. We're going to be doing a bunch of A/B testing on them. Right now, like, the production's working on some funky data, and it's still a little slow because it's feature flagged on. But you'll see, like, here it says 3 needed to start. If I was to join this game, and I'll even click on it, it says here, this game will begin once 3 players have joined. Right now there's 0 4 seats filled. So we're telling the players very clearly, hey, this is the deal. We also decided to have this huge image here instead of, like, the big black space. That's because a lot of people had their titles were blending into the rest of the description. So if I go back here, you'll realize that the actual navigation changed too. One of the reasons why we needed to do Game Status is so that we could show you games based off of a frequency. So is it a one-shot? Is it a weekly game? A bi-weekly game? A monthly game? Being able to do frequency is incredibly valuable because players have asked for it. And then status. So status is, hey, I want to find ongoing games. Ongoing games means there's already enough players in them. And a new game means that this game is still recruiting players. So ongoing means that, hey, this game is active. If you join this game, you're absolutely going to be playing in this game. And if you choose a new status, that means this group is still recruiting players. So Knight of Paintown, Eclipsed, Dominion, Rise of the Bloodlords. If I join this game, it says it needs 3 players to start. It only needs 1 to start. So 3 total to kick off, but it needs 1 to start. So if I go back, so we have And then, of course, you have game system, and then you have the additional filters. Now, we're going to be adding more filters, but we need to just like essentially build out like V1 of the filter bar that allows for status and allows for schedule. You also notice that the filter bar now include an apply button. They used to not have that. But you can say like, hey, I want to play a weekly game. I want to play on Thursdays, and I want to play at 7 a.m. To 12 p.m. And now I can find all those games. So this is the first start. These are all new games. If I want to find ongoing games, I can find games that already have enough players. And if I join the game, I'll be added automatically. And then we have Distracted GM says, it sounds like this might incentivize ongoing games, which would be great. Almost all of my players joined by only filtering for new games. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. What we realized when we interviewed and team, this is one of my favorite things. There are, and I say this in the onboardings all the time. People say like, well, should I run games that use a VTT or can I run games that are theater of the mind? There's players for everyone. There's players that don't like VTTs and they just love theater of the mind. There's players that absolutely love VTT and they don't like theater of the mind. There are players that are like, I'm happy to wait around for a campaign if it's a campaign I like. But sometimes I want to play right away and I want to play soon and I want to be able to find those different types of games. And so that's really why we wanted to have that, is because when we did all these interviews, players were very clear that they wanted either or. And so some were like, I want to play, I want there already to be enough players. And some said, I don't mind being the first to join. I sometimes like it, but the idea of them having clarity and when the game's going to happen. So you'll notice here on the games that say seats left are live games. These are active games. And then you'll see if we go to status new, these are games that still need players to start. And you'll also notice that doesn't give you a date because this game is weekly on Thursdays at 8 a.m., which means, hey, it could be this Thursday. It could be next Thursday. When you go here, we also say that again, this game will begin once 3 players have joined. If I go again, it says you'll only be charged yet. You'll only be charged once 2 players have joined. So here we start to kind of like, again, tell players what to expect. Because again, expectation setting is one of the biggest things we heard back from our user interviews. Oh, sorry. At checkout, let me go to checkout again. At checkout, we again say the same thing, if I hit join campaign. The first possible session could be Thursday, June 27th at 8 a.m. This game will start when 3 players have joined. We continue to like lay this out over and over and over again. Because expectation setting is the most important part. So what's some other things about this that's worth noting? Oh yeah, so that's one of the reasons why we had to do schedule. We had to do schedule because right now, if you're going to run a game on Wednesdays, like every Wednesday, you need a schedule for it. So we know that this happens every Wednesday. Now, we used to put in dates. Dates were fine, but you would keep having to cancel those because you didn't have enough players. There's another thing that's coming, and I wonder if it's even visible on this profile, on this game. Yes, look at this. Let me share my screen again. All right. Boom. This GM is running Expedition to Chult, Tomb of Annihilation. Now, what if you run a bunch of these, right? Well, you can scroll down here and you see there's additional times. So these are all the other campaigns that this GM is running of this adventure. So if you're on here because you find it like this looks cool, you could say, yeah, I want to join this one. And because, maybe Tuesday at 8 a.m. works better for me. Maybe I want to join the Monday at 8 a.m. But this way I can see that there are other times I can join of this game if that doesn't work for me. And I can show more parties, and the more parties is essentially just the additional times. But this will probably change to show more times. Now, K Kuto VA says, hey, Devin, I currently have a campaign that has 3 players, but I prefer 4 before I start. Once this game launches, will the game default to active or recruiting? Great question. So, you choose how many players is the minimum. If you want to start a game early, you can change the minimum players. I would probably communicate with your players about this, but say you put a minimum of 4 and you're like, hey, we have 3, everyone feels good about starting. You can go change the minimum players to 3 and then you can hit set to active. Now, once enough players have joined, the game doesn't suddenly become active or ongoing. You, the GM, have to go and hit set to active. That essentially means Everyone can now be billed, and this game is officially going to happen. This is also one of the ways that we can ensure or that we can measure reliability. When the GM says this game is going to start happening, we're going to start running this game rather than being in a recruitment stage, because recruitment shouldn't affect the reliability of a GM. Once you are ready to run, that's when that calculation should happen. Okay, let's go through. I have a feeling that games without any players need like a little bump. Once two so players join, more join faster. Aeon Boom, we do realize that once 2 players join a campaign or a one-shot, it's highly likely to finish booking up. Kikuto, warm milk. Additional time seems handy, even though it can be a nightmare running multiple of the same game. It does seem like it might make meta of the same module, though. There's a calendar I can look to see my games, but this be shown to players somehow with links to sessions. Adjor, we're not sure about a GM's calendar to players yet, but we do want to launch the player calendar feature. As far as calendar features, that's one of the first ones we want to launch, coming up. Let's see. We get some more questions here. Now, if you have questions about game status, type out question all big, or actually tag at start playing, and then your question, because then it'll show up with a little red marker, so I know that you're asking a question. Okay. Let's see if I scroll back. How do we deal with an example for a 3-player minimum game, 2 players joining, and the players and the GM agreeing to play with just 2 players? Can this be modified live? Yes, Canon. I think I answered that. I think you probably heard me answer that. But you can always change the minimum amount of players needed. Of course, like if your players are down with it. I wouldn't do it as a surprise, because what we all know is it's not that players hate bad news. It's players hate surprises. Okay. This is a great answer for what happens if you have the minimum players and people leave the campaign and it drops below the minimum players. The game continues going. You can pause sessions, or you can cancel sessions if you want to wait for more people to join. But if you drop below the minimum, the game is still happening. What we realized is there's usually like the first 3 to 8 sessions where that is likely to happen. But deeper in the campaign, dropping off enough people to not be able to run the campaign is a lot more rare. It's usually like there's 4 or 5 people and 1 or 2 drop, and it's kind of a lean game, but usually able to ramp back up. But it's very rare that a game kind of like has to stop. And if so, you can also just create a brand new campaign and you can start recruiting again. Can we switch back to recruitment when players drop out before the scheduled session? And Voom, we actually were thinking about building that feature, but the data showed that doesn't happen a whole lot, enough to like warrant building like a big feature for that. If we see this become the case with the change to game status, because it is a pattern change, we'll probably look to building something that is like a pause or move to recruitment again, something like that. Tom says, will the switchover, will current active campaigns go into recruitment and need to be prompted active again? No. I think all games with 0 people will go into new, and all games with people will be active. There's no clean way to do it, because if people are running games with 2 people, then we can't set that to new and then essentially stop the billing. So that's why it's going to be one of the messiest things about the swap over, is that we have a really hard line. If the game has no players in it, it's new. If the game has players in it, it's going to be active. Is there a way there could be a waitlist for games, especially one-shots? Adjor, we looked at a waitlist, and most players, when we were interviewing, didn't like the idea of a waitlist. They said it would just kind of move to a different game. We do think that recruitment is kind of like a waitlist, because when you join a one-shot, the one-shot isn't officially going to kick off until the GM hits set to active. So everyone that's joining is essentially waiting for that game to happen. But I do think that there's something there around waitlist. We're also looking at like some other stuff around like waitlisting for GM, so that you can know what the GM is releasing and what games the GM is doing. I mean, that's a kind of a different project, but we are looking into that. I think that would kind of fulfill more of the waitlist needs, because we kind of tell you like when seats are available. Yeti, how do you plan to handle one shots? Right now, Yeti, the one shots are the same thing. So if you have like this right here, you have a one shot or a campaign that says, hey, it needs 4 players, it's still in the new. And if you don't get enough players, those players won't automatically be charged. The GM doesn't have to go and cancel the session. You can go in there and you can reschedule the session further out if the players agree they want to stick around. But once you have enough players, if you want to say like, hey, this game's going to happen, you hit set to active, and then that will essentially confirm billing, and it'll mark the game as active and active, aka ongoing, which means this is a session that's absolutely going to happen. Yeti, let me know if that answers your question or if there was something else it didn't. Adjor, is there any way there could be a waitlist for games, especially one shots? Oh, I just answered that. Question, is there a rough estimate days that this will start? Distracted GM, I guess you mean, is there a rough estimate of when game status will start? Like last week or the week before, I said that July, like the first week of July is kind of like the deadline for it happening. Last week I talked about that it'll be launching this week. Today I'm here to tell you that it'll be launching tomorrow or the day after. How did your interviewing with players work? How did you find the players? Sammy, great question. We do a few things. One, we look at we had looked at 3 different groups of players. People that had never heard about Start Playing before. People that wanted to play D&D, and we use D&D because we can find the biggest sample size of people. But we're like, hey, have you ever want to play D&D? And have you never played? And would you play D&D? Then we interview these people. It's like, would you pay for D&D? They're like, okay, yeah, of course. They're like, okay, professional DM. And then we showed them prototypes, and we kind of walked them through this. This prototype went through around 10 revisions. And then we also interviewed like current players, and we showed this to them and saying like, okay, like what are your kind of biggest pain points? It's like, oh, we know I wait for a game, and so we try to find people that had experienced these pains before, and then we showed them the same prototypes, and then we interviewed people who never booked in a game with us, but have signed up for an account with us. So those are the kind of people we chose. That's kind of like the cohort. Let's see. Warm Milk, yeah, could like a subscribe to GM feature. I don't want to say too much about it, Warm Milk, but that's kind of what I mean. Ross Fulton, question. Start Playing. We all know players stick with GMs they like. Do we have any plans for adding a subscribe to GM? Wow, okay, yeah, Warm Milk and Ross are... yes, there is something I'm working on. It's still very much in like the research stage. But there is some stuff that is going on around the idea of, subscribe to a GM, favorite a GM, follow a GM. And when I have more to share about it, I absolutely will. Will you be fixing the new way one-shots are set up in the back end? I added hours to my workflow now because of needing to manually set up every single one-shot within the same listings. La Leon Cosplay. I think one of the fast follows we're going to do first to kind of address some of the frustrations around one-shots is just like a duplicate adventure, which should help clear up having to add all the recruiting notes, add the prep materials, all of those details, and then you'll end up having to schedule. If we see it still kind of being a huge problem, we'll probably set a whole new study on how to make one-shots easier that allow them to work within this program, because we know that we need to make a way to make sure we can gauge reliability, but also make sure that people aren't being charged when they shouldn't be because they joined a one-shot that didn't have enough players. So having this set to active, having this kind of back end is required to be able to do a lot of this stuff. But I do know that it causes frustrations. And anytime you add new features, it's going to add more workload to different things, and we have to release more stuff to reduce that workload. But I do think the fast follow there is to be able to dupe adventures so that you don't have to enter in all that information again. You can just dupe them and then just change the schedule. Okay. Like templates for campaigns. Bones, I don't know what that means. Tom, thank you. Appreciate the love on the hat. Okay. Any other questions y'all want to go about on game status? Also, the ability to have this also in one-shots. This is where you'll see instead of a drop down of the other one-shots, you will see additional times, and you'll see all the other one-shots or all the other campaigns. All the other campaigns. La Leon says, the templates for campaigns, the duplication would be for adventures. So if I actually, I'll show you what I mean. If I go here, and let's say I have a one-shot, I have this one-shot. The idea is if we click this and you'd have a duplicate, so you essentially have another one of the same one-shots, and it already pre-populates with the old information outside of session date. That's what I mean by duplicate. Because in that way, all you need to do is put in the time. Okay. The biggest problem right now with one-shots is that each session needs to be its own adventure. You can pick the session from one adventure page by picking a session. Yeah, it used to be you had the drop-down. You could add as many sessions as possible. It did create a lot of tech problems on the back end. So we might have to create a whole new solution for one-shots down the road. I think duplication is going to be like the fastest thing that we can do that will relieve a lot of effort that GMs are putting into one-shots. But we might have to look further into it for an even deeper solution. But the ability of being able to make sure that like games like tilt or they activate is really important, and you couldn't do that by allowing them to have those sessions contained inside the same adventure. Oh yeah, Bones, that's what you're talking about. Okay. Y'all have any other questions on game status before I move on? Let's see. What else do I have? Let me pull up my notes. Bum, bum, bum. Office hours 6:25. Okay, I don't need this. Get out of here, pop-ups. Okay, pushing fast. Oh, I'm pretty sure some of you saw this. Let me see if I have. Do I have it in my trash can? Let's see. This would be pretty cool. I'd love to show this little fun thing that happened. I think some of you already saw it if you're in the Discord, but I was sharing this the other day. Let's see. Growth. There we go. All right. Yeah, let me just throw this up on the screen. So I think some of you have seen this. This is if you go to D&D Beyond and you sign up for an account, this is the first email you get. And it's really cool. If I go here, in that email is this little call out. Look at this. Look at this. Find a group to play D&D with. Join a D&D game on Start Playing. Wow. I'm sorry. That just makes me really happy that we're already in the email flow. Okay. Do the alternate times automatically populate, or do we have to do something? Aeon Voom, great question. Those other times, they're all based off of if those adventures are part of the same template. So when you have a template that has 6 adventures, all those will populate in the other times, unless they're private. They won't. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have to talk about? We talked about. Oh, okay. So a lot of people always say, like, where are great places to promote? But I've done a lot of user interviews lately about, like, where people heard about Start Playing. And essentially everyone who heard about Start Playing through a non-performance channel, through a non-traction channel, that's essentially like word of mouth. And one of the biggest ones I noticed was Reddit. And it wasn't people like responding to posts like, hey, here's, you know, in Reddit LFG or something. It was just people talking about, like a GM was talking about their game on Reddit and they'd shared it, or like another GM had shared like something special that had happened with their players. And the person I was talking to is like, they're like, oh, I didn't understand what it was. Like he was sharing like this awesome thing. Like the players went to go play with him. They like traveled and he's like a pro GM, and I was reading it and then I was like, hey, can I see your games? And the GM just sent them the games from like a private message, but the GM had made content on Reddit just talking about how they're a pro GM, how their group was great, and this player had said like that's what drew me to them. And so when I talked to all these people, it learned out like almost none of them that came from Reddit came from a post about a game. They all came because they were interacting with someone on Reddit that you know, was a pro GM, and they liked what they were interacting with, or they liked the things that were being shared. So that was a really cool learning about Reddit specifically that I just want to share with all y'all. Tom, question on the D&D Beyond email, does that link specifically go to any D&D games marked with Learn to Play or D&D in general? Right now it's just kind of like a general like tells you how to use Start Playing, takes you to the Start Playing site after you click through. We are working on something called Starter Set, which is, can be for D&D Beyond, but it can also be for any game publisher. It could be for any VTT, it could be for any game system. And the idea is it would make it really easy to start up. I actually, right before office hours, I was doing a Starter Set Best GM Profile interview, and this player was brand new, never heard of Start Playing, was walking through it. They're so overwhelmed with Search. And every time we show Search to someone who's familiar with D&D, kind of familiar with tabletop gaming, they know how to use Search. Man, they are a pro. But someone who's brand new, they're like, okay, they kind of stumbled around. They started to kind of figure things out. And it just kind of showed me again how there needs to be a separate funnel for people that are brand new to start playing into gaming. I learned about it from a YouTuber discussing about being a pro DM, Veronica Sipe. La Leoni Cosplay. If I'm able to duplicate one-shot sessions, I'm fine with that change because currently any of my one-shots that didn't have sessions on them, I've lost the prep materials to those games. Absolutely, La Leoni, that makes 100% sense. That's really frustrating. And that's why I think the duplication is like the fastest thing that we can look to start building in the coming weeks to make that easier for you. But I don't think that's the end of it. I think we're going to always try to find ways to, it's like this balance, right? We have to build things that make it really easy for players to find and join games, but then we also have to make sure that like we're reducing admin load on GMs. And so sometimes like doing something that makes it easier for players to find games creates admin load, and sometimes we create admin load, it makes it harder for the games. So it's a constant balance where we solve one problem and then we go and we have to like solve another problem. So I understand it's frustrating. Thank you so much for like voicing that out, but we will be finding ways to make that work easier too. Aeon Voom, you may be a few questions like, do you like fantasy or sci-fi or horror? Do you want easy or deep rules? Aeon Voom, so probably not that. That's probably further down the line when we work on recommendations. This is probably going to be this is going to be like in the consideration side of the funnel. So people that should be taking this already know that they want to play Pathfinder or D&D or Blaze in the Dark or Mothership. Because that'll make the funnel even more effective. I think in the future, I would love to build something that's kind of like a recommendation tool that's like, hey, what do you love? And it's like, I love Alien, the video game. It's like, cool. Why don't you play Alien or Mothership or Death in Space? Any of these and kind of recommend games to people based off of their interests. Starters would be nice for people who haven't played in a while or have never played. Good idea. Actually, do you guys want to see a prototype? Nick's going to hate me. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull up something we've been working on. Let's see. Okay, so like listen, guys, this is like a real rough prototype. Okay, now, Odd Squirrel. I was one of the first people that realized this frustration that I sometimes have when I show you things that like we're thinking about, we're kind of building. Like these things are like in nowhere near like this is what it's going to be. Could change dramatically. Like I had mentioned reliability to like reliability is something we want to measure in the future, and I've seen people in the Discord over and over again say, "Oh my God, is this hurting my reliability metric?" Or they're like, ever since they shipped reliability, I get less bookings, and we haven't done anything with it. It's literally just been like conversations about how we would calculate it, and we haven't done anything on it. So when I'm showing you things, these are things that we're thinking about doing. Just keep that in mind. I know I haven't started screen sharing yet because I want to give you this this disclaimer. But yeah, so remember, nothing until I say, hey, it's launched. Nothing's launched. Nothing's launched. Okay, here we go. Wrong one. There we go. Okay. So like you're like, hey, I want to learn to play Dungeons and Dragons. You start, and then like the first question is, yada yada yada. So it would be something like, how much experience do you have with playing D&D? And someone chooses like, oh, I've never played before. The thing we would add here is like, awesome. We'll put you with players of a similar skill level. We'll probably change that to say something like, awesome. We'll put you with a bunch of other newbies. What we realized a lot when talking to people is people who want to learn how to play D&D are terrified of playing with anyone who is not new. they're so scared to play with people who aren't new. They're like, I don't want to drag everyone down. I don't want everyone to hate me because I don't know the rules. And so that is why we want to put in feedback when they select something. If they select, hey, I've never played before, we want to tell them, great, you're going to play with someone else who's never played before. And we also have this up here, which is like a calendar selector, because we realized the other thing is that we asked people, hey, when do you want to play? And I think I told some of you how I was doing this, but essentially I just interviewed people who had never heard of Start Playing and who said that they want to learn to play D&D. I said, great, I'm going to get you in a game. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'm going to get you in a game. And then I would ask them, is there anything else you want to know? And I would lock that down. So I'd say, hey, you want to play a game of D&D? They're like, I do. Cool. When do you want to play? And they're like, just whenever. I'm like, okay. And I realized that they would never pick a specific time. When I asked players when they want to play, they never had a hard time to choose. So I'd say, well, what about Saturday at 6 p.m.? They're like, well, I can't Saturday at 6 p.m. So when he said, or when they said, whenever, that's not true. There are times that don't work. So we realized that we absolutely cannot ask people to choose their own time. We have to give them a subset of times. So we have to say, when do you want to play first, right? And they pick a calendar day. So I want to play on Tuesdays. Like, cool. Do you want to play at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., or 6 p.m.? Give them 3 options. And then from there, you kind of continue to ask a few questions to make sure they feel really good. Now, another thing we noticed is like some players, especially with those with marginalized identities, when given the opportunity, they say like, well, what do you want to know about your GM? Like, well, I don't know. I'm like, you can ask anything. I can give you any kind of GM you want. Someone's like, well, can I have a black GM? I'm like, sure, great. Yeah, of course, because they are also a person of color and they've wanted to play with another person of color because that's kind of rare for them. They feel like they don't know a lot of other people of color that play D&D. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I paired them with another GM who's also black. And they were really stoked on it. So we realized that there's also some of this kind of like identity tag stuff that can be used to make sure people feel really comfortable in it. Another woman was like, oh, I'm neurodivergent. And I said, well, this guy, Jeff, he's also neurodivergent. They're like, oh, that's so cool. I love that. I feel like this person will also see me the way I am. So that's some really cool stuff that I think we'll be able to do with Starter Set. All right. Let's see. There's some other questions. Question. Sorry. One-shots are my major focus. I set up one-shots at all different times of days, 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m. Is that going to be a problem with the new back-end setup? I don't see it being a problem. Not at all. You're absolutely able to set it up at all those different times. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. If not, I'll see what else I have in my... what else do I have here? One-shots walkthrough, GBL welcome series. Okay. Ads active. Cool. All right. That's kind of the bulk of what I have here, team. If y'all have any other questions, if not, I'll wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. And then we'll just go from there. But I'm really excited for Game Status to launch tomorrow. Now, keep in mind, software development is like, if any of you have ever worked in service, software development is kind of like a kitchen. It's kind of like a restaurant, in the sense that like when we are making a change this big, it's essentially like taking 6 entrees off of the menu and adding a new 6 to the menu all in the same day. It's a lot of change, and there's a lot of things we've planned for. A lot of times people say like, why didn't you account for this? Because we accounted for other 100 things. So there's always going to be things that we haven't accounted for, but our team is going to be ready to like fast follow with other stuff. But that's also why they've been testing nonstop this past week. But testing is kind of like when you as a restaurant have a friends and family night. You invite them over to kind of get a vibe for it, but nothing can account for what it's like on a Friday night or Saturday night service. That's really when you test your restaurant or your code, your staff, etc. What is your nuclear cloud diorama back there? Oh, this. Wait, this. That's actually just a lamp. It just has some miniatures underneath it. What was the threat of war or whatever in your browser tabs? What was the threat of war? What? My browser tabs. browser tabs. Thread of war. Hey, Mom wants to go talk to you. Hey guys, this is my dog. She's very cute. All right, go say hi, Mom. Leonie cosplay. Thank you for answering and addressing all of my comments and concerns. 100%. That is what I'm here for. Oh, I had a screen share on. Tech is always in flux. There's always going to be funky things happening. We'll wait for technology. My July one-shots until fixes have been made with updates. Report back with their problems. Let's go. What are your chances that you'll have new positions opening up sometime soon, specifically in the UX UI category? Matthew Ashby. I don't know. Right now, Nick has a lot of work that he's kind of taken out, and we would thought he would be bottlenecked because we have more engineers than we do Nick's. Nick is our current product designer. So I don't know when we're going to be hiring more in design. We just hired another 3 engineers. I think we're probably really set on our staff right now. But if we do end up hiring more, that'll probably be like in Q4. Software development is like a kitchen, except the kitchen's on fire and the knives are just cats. No explanation given. That's about right. No, I mean it's funny too because when you are switching like a change this big on the site in terms of like kitchen, like I said, it's like taking 6 entrees off of the menu and putting 6 on the menu. You have to make sure that you're taking them off when you're like just low enough on ingredients so it's efficient, and then you want to make sure that the ingredients you have for the new switch are ready to go and they're not wasting away in the walk-in. So it's like this timing thing too. Also, you need to make sure the prep are perfect. You need to make sure all the new entrees, there's enough room in the broilers for it. I'm definitely going down into my service days here with this metaphor. Robbed of puppy time, I know. She was hungry. La Leon, thank you so much. Are there any plans to improve the referral system? Store credit doesn't interest me. At Jor, yeah, I mean, I understand that it might not interest you. I think right now, I don't know if we're going to have an affiliate program for GMs. We might in the future, something we've talked about. But I think that's more what you're hoping for. You're hoping for being able to earn money for the people you refer. That might be something we do. There's a bunch of stuff we kind of thought about. Right now, the next referral work we're going to do is just increasing the touch point to get more people to refer. We noticed that player referrals have the highest amount of retention, so we want to focus on that. And that's because like GMs are going to refer a lot of their friends, and they're going to get a game here and there off of their friends, and their friends aren't going to stay because like, oh, I got my $10 in credit and I play with my friend with it and bounce. That's more the commonality with GM referrals, but player referrals have the highest retention. So we want to find a way to make that easier, make it more pronounced, increasing those touch points. I get that. I run too many games to have time to play outside of APs personally. Thinking more if I want to do my own advertising. Well, I mean, here's the thing. The great thing is, even if you don't care about credit, the players that you're introducing to the game, they still get that credit. And that's one of the best benefits is the fact if you are doing any outside advertising, the people who use that link to sign up are going to get $10 in credit that we're essentially just giving them $10 in digital currency to spend on you. So that's still money that you're getting. That's still great. That's one of the sleeper things. So if you're not using this to grow your business, if you're doing outside advertising for Start Playing, absolutely you should start because this is it's one of the most effective things you can do. Okay. Yeah, it's true if they book with you. Okay. Is there anything else? No? Team, should we call it? I'm gonna go hang out with my puppy. Thank you so much, everyone. Best of luck. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the week. The update should be going out tomorrow or Thursday, Friday at the latest, but I think we're tracking for tomorrow. It should be really, really exciting. And if you need anything else, I will, of course, always be in the Discord, sitting there watching silently, reading all your messages quietly in the shadows. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye.
depths of the dungeons, to the tavern brawls. Save the king, kill the giant. We've been through it all. I could fill up the tome, but you're not coming home. Well, we all saw it happen. We're the ones you saved. We're gonna light you a candle, gonna tell your tale by the light of the moon. Well, remember you, dying to hear. We tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. And on that fateful day, the evil wizard came. Now everybody in this realm is singing out your name. Well, can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane? Our adventures together went to hell and back. Spent the day slaying dragons and escaping traps, but massive damage is done. And now you're really gone, but we'll remember you, dying to hear. We tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. And on that fateful day, the evil wizard came. And now everybody in this realm is saying out your name. Can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane? We'll remember you, dying to hear. We tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. And on that fateful day, the evil wizard came. Now everybody in this realm is singing out your name. But can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane? Can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane?